Welcome to our business meeting. It is September 5th, 2023. The time is 2 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Matari, Brooks, and Duncan. And if you'd join us for a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Kat, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there changes to the agenda? I know that item 31 has been pulled, but anything else? Okay, hearing none. I would accept a motion to approve minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar, items 2 through 12.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. And payables, please.
I had it right. I don't have it.
I've got it right here.
I'll do it. I move
ahead.
that we approve the payables from August 28th to September 1, 2023, in the amount of $946,835.29, and jury panel payments in the amount of $4,071.61.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 14, ordinance number 2023-585, and this is a public hearing. This is for the 2023 Animal Control Ordinance amendments. And Pat, are you going to lead us, or?
Yes.
Deputy Osborne?
Pat Braden, Civil Deputy Prosecutor for the record.
Oh, Pat Braden, Civil Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the record. Here with me is Sandra Osborne, Animal Control Officer for the Sheriff's Office. She's the one who kind of got the ball rolling on this and took the initiative to ask for the changes that are before you today. There's three proposed changes here. The first one would be to section 5.1.105 entitled Dogs Without Collar and Tags. This would change subsection D to reflect the operations of our current animal shelter, which is Companions, formerly known as the Humane Society, their new facility on Atlas. So it would strike weekends and holidays and just replace it with any days on which the impound facility is closed, whether it's a holiday or if for some operational reason they need to close or whatever. Second change is also what I would consider housekeeping. It's to section 5.1.201 entitled Kennel Licenses, subsection A, paragraph 3. Just change to the to make it more for clarity. And then the third change is a substantive change to paragraph 4 of the same subsection. It would read, a county kennel license shall also be required for any parcel of real property in which any of the activities listed in the definition of commercial kennel, as set forth in section 5.1.103 of this chapter, are occurring regardless of the number of dogs kept, harbored, or possessed on the property. Section 5.1.103 would not be changed under this proposal, but the reason for the proposal, and Ms. Osborne can elaborate if she likes, is because there have been instances where animal control has found commercial activities ongoing on properties where there are not 5 or more dogs, which would normally trigger a kennel license. This would make those, bring those activities into licensing requirements under the Animal Control Ordinance, whether they have 5 dogs or more or not. It could also be still also be potentially a code violation of the Land Use and Development Code. But this way, we at least bring it into the licensing requirements that are enforced by the sheriff. And they may trigger a further review by community development as well, whether it's a code violation or they just require a home occupation or cottage industry permit. But this way, at least, the sheriff can, let them know this requires a permit, and you may need to contact community development as well.
Do you have 5.1.103?
I don't with me, but those of you with laptops, I can email it to you quickly. Oh, actually, right, just, if I could approach, I can provide you a copy that Ms. Osborne actually has. and
Thank
we can
you.
review it amongst.
All right, let's see.
Is this the definition of a kennel?
Yes. All right, so it's breeding for sale of more than 2 litters each year, or offering a service for compensation in conjunction with the operation of a kennel, including but not limited to training, grooming, boarding, or breeding, raising of competition dogs for purposes of compensation, greyhound racing, sled dog racing, dog pulls, or any other events, or any pet shop regularly selling dogs. So, all right, are you guys, anything else to add, you guys? Pat, are you good? Okay,
Yeah, that was all I had to say, unless any of you had any questions.
right, so any questions before I call for public?
The only question I would have is just, is there any way that you could actually have a private facility that would fall under this kennel definition?
With the licensing requirement, yes.
I mean, you could have the facilities, but, you're not operating it for profit.
If you're not doing any commercial activities, then you just
Then you're fine. Okay.
individually license your dogs and you're good to go.
So the five animals were just a threshold, but.
For a kennel
it's
license, yes.
For commercial activity, so.
Well, for any kennel,
Yeah.
so whether it's commercial or not. And the non-commercial kennels are a use by right in certain zones and prohibited in others. And then the commercial kennels require both the kennel license and a conditional use permit. This would extend the kennel license requirement to anybody raising, that's raising dogs that
More than 1 litter a year.
is conducting commercial activities.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, I'll call for public comment. Anybody testifying in favor or against this ordinance? Anyone on the phone? Anyone online, Jonathan? Nope. All right, then I would ask for a motion to end public testimony and enter into deliberations.
I move that we end public testimony and enter into deliberations.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thoughts? Bill?
I think I was keeping it, it's pretty straightforward. Not much to it.
Yeah, it's reasonable. It's reasonable.
All right, then I would take a motion.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we moving to approve the ordinance or to put it into the public
It would-
advertise it for?
It would be to approve and adopt the ordinance.
I move that we approve and adopt the ordinance 2023-585, 2023 Animal Control Ordinance, an amendment with the prosecuting attorney.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
That was found, yeah.
Yes. All right, item 15, approval of school facility use. This is Lakeland School and our juvenile diversion. Mr. Hall on the phone?
Yes, thank you. This is to enter into an agreement with the Lakeland School District for the use of their classroom. This is the location of our drug and alcohol class that we teach every year. and there's no cost to the county for this.
All right, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the school facility use of Lakeland School, the Lakeland School District, with a juvenile diversion.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion approved. Item 16, board approval request. This is a B budget overage, and it's a request to increase the B budget. And it's our community development.
Reba Gritness, Administrative Manager, Community Development, for the record. We're just asking to be able to go over budget. We're currently like $335 over. Overages are mostly for consultants. We got a good grip on it for next year, as well as our revenue is way up by $690,000 due to our fee increases. So I'm estimating, this is a rough estimate, we need about $13,000 more to finish out August and September bills.
Okay, questions, thoughts?
But we are definitely going to be in the black as far as the additional revenues.
We're hoping, yeah.
I don't know, we levied like 1.6 million tax dollars, so I don't know if you want Brandy to,
Well, I mean, the way I'm reading it is that we're ahead pretty significantly with revenues.
With what we projected, we're way ahead because of the fee increases, but
Right.
it's not quite covering our expenses at this time. We haven't had it for the whole year.
Okay.
yeah, so then it would still just be $1 million tax generated.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just the documents were a little cryptic for me. I've never seen them before, so.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Any thoughts, questions? Do you want to put a cap on it, or, not to exceed 14,000? They have to come back to us, or what? What do you want to do?
That seems reasonable.
Okay. Will that work?
I think so. That's a rough estimate, but I think we can be right in there.
So it will come from, well, I mean, you can say it's coming from general fund balance, but it's just going to be one or the other. I mean, the revenues don't cover the entire cost, so I just call it general fund balance.
Okay. I move that we approve the request with community development to go over their B budget with not to exceed $14,000 for the balance of FY23, and that the funds will come from the general fund balance.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, item 17, board approval request, approval per policy 930, and this is specialty court. My understanding this is a similar situation, Carlene?
Yes, it is. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kaitlin Behringer for the record. Yes, it's a very similar situation. In our B budget, we've gone over on a couple items. One of the big items that we've gone over is our legal services budget, and that's due to the Patriot cases. There's 8 more cases still pending that will not be tried in this fiscal year. Their court dates are being set next fiscal year. So that takes care of those 8, but we did go over quite a bit. And then there's other cases that Judge Meyer wanted private attorneys to act as conflict public defenders. Most of them are post-conviction cases. So that's another added expense that we didn't anticipate. The other budget item that is over is mental health services. There were a significant uptick in mental health evaluations being ordered by judges. And that was another line item that was significantly over. And the other line item that we also were over on was drug testing. under other professional services. Judges are ordering a lot more drug testing, and that has really significantly impacted our budget.
A couple questions. Do you have any A-budget savings that will cover this, or do we need to dip into fund balance?
Right now, as I look at the budget performance report, I'm at 91% of my budget. The A budget, let's see here. No, I don't. I'm very close to being at 100% on all those.
Brandy Falcon for the record, if I may explain. Since Carlene has her own restricted fund balance, even if they do have some A-budget savings, when we close our fiscal year end, we wrap up all her budgets together. So any A-budget savings at year end will absorb into B-budget. If it's a net deficit, it will just reduce her restricted fund balance a little bit at year end. So you could just give permission for her to finish out the year over budget so we can continue processing her invoices, if that makes it simpler.
Do you have a projected amount to the end of the year?
I don't.
Okay.
Again, we're at 91%, so there's 9% left. So.
Sure. Yeah. What do you want to do?
It's going to be tight.
These are expenses we have to obviously pay. It's just a matter of where they're coming from, and then what can we do to mitigate it for FY24.
Right, and that was the other question. Is FY24 going to be able to cover this, or we're not?
Oh, I hope so. I did, the board did increase my legal services line item, and that will be really helpful. I'm going to have to take another look at the mental health line item in other professional services and see if that can be adjusted.
Okay.
And these people aren't coming from mental health court, so it's not under their budget, it comes into the general budget.
Sure. All right, and then, but there is fund balance available, restricted fund balance, so you'll be able to use that, so, yep. Bill, thoughts?
Nope, I think it's a normal request. It's the end of the fiscal year.
So what do we approve the continued expenses through FY23 using restricted fund balance?
Yep.
Okay. I move that we approve the request for specialty court to exceed their budget per policy 930 to use their restricted fund balance.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlene. Item 18, grant amendment 02270KC, and this is for the 5310 purchase of service performance period extension only, and it's ITD at $181,000, cash and in-kind match at $45,250 with our resource management office. And Mr. Ingle, you're on the phone?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Ingle with RMO for the record. The purchase of service is to provide transportation services to older adults and individuals with disabilities. This is a 2-year award which started October 1, 2022. The board approval for year 1 was on September 28, 2022. And before you is the second year of the 2-year award. This will extend the award to September 30, 2024.
Okay, questions, motion.
No questions.
I move that we approve grant amendment 02270KC/5310, purchase of services, performance period extension only with IDT in the amount of $181,000 with a cash and in-kind match of $45,250 with RMO.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 19, grant agreement C2479KC. This is 5339 ID 2018-002. bus rehabilitation, and it's with the Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $95,000, in-kind match $23,750. Once again, Mr. Ingle.
Yes, thank you again, Commissioners. Chad Ingle with ARMO for the record. We are seeking approval for the grant agreement with the Idaho Transportation Department. Under board approval, we applied for the grant earlier this year with ITD and were awarded the grant. This is to be used to maintain and repair our existing paratransit fleet.
Okay, questions?
No questions.
All right, motion.
I move that we approve a grant agreement number C2479KC /5339 ID-2018-002 for the bus rehabilitation with Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $95,000 with an in-kind match of $23,750.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 20, grant agreement C1779KC, and this is for 5339 bus stops B3 and C15, the improvements with the Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $329,200, cash and in-kind match of $82,300. And Mr. Ingle.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Ingle with ARMO for the record. The Idaho Transportation Department awarded Kootenai County Public Transportation $67,200 for bus stop improvements specific to stop B3 and C15. Due to the significant construction costs, ITD had issued 2 previous amendments to the original grant agreement. This is the third. The grant agreement before you represents the details of the original scope of work plus the amendments. So that brings the total federal funding award to $329,200 with match of $82,300.
Okay, questions?
The only question I have, and it's really more towards for the board here, because a lot of these grants have started long before I joined the board. I'm just curious, does this kind of fit into the overall kind of the future of what we want as a board and so forth?
So this particular one is for 2 bus stops that instead of just having a sign there, they are sheltered now. And so the amount, because it was kind of got caught in the COVID problem, era, it costs a lot more money to make these 2 bus stops. So they were already existing bus stops, and this was just to enhance their service.
Yeah, and that's what I gathered from it. But I guess the question is, are there more bus stops that are planned to, put these covers on? Is everyone going to have that? Those kinds of things.
So I think Chad can answer that question, and it is to make them ADA compliant. So I'll mention that.
That's correct, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and with all our bus stops, we have a plan in place for when and if they'll take place, but as of right now, we don't have any more bus stops that we're anticipating in the near future of putting shelters.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further?
No, thanks.
I move that we approve grant amendment C1779KC/5339 bus stops B3 and C15 improvements with IDT in the amount of $329,200, cash and in-kind match of $82,300 with Resource Management Office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 21, board approval request. This is the Justice Building expansion, and this is an increase to scope of protective glazing, and our Resource Management Office, Kaitlin Smith, will present.
Kaitlin Smith, Resource Management Office for the record. Per the request of the courts, the prosecutor's office, and adult misdemeanor probation, RMO is seeking board consideration for approval of scope changes for the Justice Building expansion to add protective glazing as described within the memo. If approved, these scope increases would increase the cost of the upcoming work package 3 by an estimated $69,489.
All right, questions?
Is that kind of built into the buffer that, because I know earlier in the year we talked about getting a final dollar amount in August, and I don't recall seeing that.
And that was because we split the work packages into 3. So, and then we will be discussing work package number 1 next.
Okay.
This item was not accounted for in the estimates presented earlier this year. So it would represent an increase on that estimate, and the overall change to the estimate is still in progress. They're still working on cost control.
But it could be part of contingency.
Yes, there's space for it in contingency.
Yep. Okay, any other questions? Okay, motion?
I move that the board approve the request for the Justice Building expansion, increase the scope of protective glazing with RMO.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
No.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 22, work package 1, GMP amendment to agreement between Kootenai County and Bouten Construction for Justice Building expansion. And of course, this is ARPA funded and resource management. Again, Kaitlin.
Kaitlin Smith for the record. This item, the guaranteed maximum price amendment for work package 1, represents the construction contract for the Justice Building expansion project's mobilization, general conditions and requirements, and earthwork and utilities. The contract sum is $5,108,638, which does come in below Bouten's previous estimate for work package 1. Work package 1 is to be funded from the American Rescue Plan Act dollars previously set aside for the Justice Building expansion.
Okay. Do you know about how much it came in below?
It came in about $435,565 below the estimate.
Okay, so the $69,000 we just approved is covered in that vein. Okay, questions?
Nope.
Okay, motion?
I move that we approve work package 01 GMP amendment to the agreement between Kootenai County and Bouten Construction for the Justice Building expansion, which is ARPA funded, and Bouten Construction Company and RMO.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
No.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Item 23, Second Amendment to 19 HFR 01. This is a contract for services, hazard fuels treatment, and Haney, 4 acres, $16,000 with North Idaho Landscaping and Forestry. And then Tiffany or Andrea?
Yeah, Tiffany Westbrook Odium for the record. Before you is the second amendment to the Hazardous Fuels Reduction 01 contract. This is for an additional hazardous fuel treatment of 4 acres with North Idaho Landscaping and Forestry in the amount of $16,000, and we recommend that you approve this amendment.
Okay, questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the second amendment, 19 HFR-01, contract for services with hazard fuels, the treatment at the Haney, 4 acres for $16,000 with North Idaho Landscaping and Forestry.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 24, this is a grant award, 23NONE 853, and this is for the 4589 HMGP Kootenai County grant and the Idaho Office of Emergency Management in the amount of $331,898.40. Cash and in-kind match will be provided by North Kootenai Water and Sewer District in the amount of $36,977.60. And Ms. Westbrook, please.
Yes, so before you is the grant award between Kootenai County and the Idaho Office of Emergency Management for an all-hazard mitigation project with North Kootenai Water and Sewer District. There is a match requirement for this grant, however, that will be met by the Water District, and our recommendation is to approve this award.
Tiffany, are we keeping any of the admin portion for reporting?
We are, upon approval of this award, a grant use agreement will be forthcoming with North Kootenai Water and Sewer District, and that will outline what that looks like.
Great. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve grant award 23 NONE 853-4589 HMGP-Kootenai County and Idaho Office of Emergency Management in the amount of $331,898.40 with an in-kind match from North Kootenai Water and Sewer District in the amount of $36,977.60.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Item 25, this is the 2023 KCSO Silverwood Scarywood Season Agreement with Silverwood Theme Park and our Patrol Division. And Lieutenant Arts, please.
Lieutenant Justin Arts with the Sheriff's Office, subbing in for Captain Smart. This is just our contractual agreement with Silverwood so that they can pay for law enforcement services during their Scarywood season.
And are there a lot of calls for service during this time?
There can be, yes. Historically, almost every shift has calls for service.
Okay. Questions, thoughts, motion?
I don't have any questions. I move that we approve the 2023 KCSO Silverwood Scarywood Season Agreement with the Silverwood Theme Park.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Thank you. Item 26, board approval request, and this is to approve the L2 extensions for tax year 2023 in our auditor's office. Ms. Lynch?
Alicia Lynch, tax accountant with the auditor's office for the record. Every September, the taxing districts are required to submit a levy document known as the L2 to the county prior to its approval by the State Tax Commission. Before the board today are the requests for 7 working day extension from the due date September 7th, 2023. This will give these districts until September 18th to complete the required forms. This does not impact the county's L2 or their deadlines. The auditor's office requests the board formally approve these extensions as is within your power in statute 63803. No signatures are required. We will be submitting notification to the districts whom applied.
There are 5 or 6?
6.
6. Okay. Questions, motion?
No questions.
I move that we approve the request for approval of L2 extension for tax year 2023 for the auditor's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Item 27, which is FY24, court-appointed special advocate known as CASA, and this is our agreement with Schwartz Law Office and Ms. Kaiser.
Leanna Kaiser for the record. This is an annual agreement for providing services for court-appointed special advocates, our CASA program. Chris Schwartz has been our provider the last year. He has agreed to renew for another year. So this is the agreement before you. There are a couple of changes. One is the hourly rate. If he does terminate the agreement and we have to bring in another attorney to fill in for the gap, he's agreed to train the new attorney for $150 an hour. That's an increase. The prior agreement had $80 an hour, but the $150 is in alignment with our conflict attorney program, so that was changed. And then the certification concerning non-ownership by the government of China was also added to this agreement. So there's no change in the budget. It's been budgeted and approved, so just seeking your approval for the renewal.
Okay, questions, motion?
No questions. I move that we approve the FY24 court-appointed special advocate agreement with Schwartz Law Office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 28, this is the second amendment to independent contractor agreement with Aquifer Protection, or for the Aquifer Protection District Master Plan, and Dunau and Associates, and Ms. Kaiser.
Yes, Leanna Kaiser for the record again. So I'm representing Aquifer Protection District today, and they are seeking a second amendment to an agreement they had with Andy Dunau at Dunau Associates. The only change to this agreement is just extending the term. It had been extended prior to the end of our fiscal year. He is not able to provide the services he had hoped to be finished with by the end of the year, so he's extended the agreement out to the end of the next fiscal year. There's no change in the dollar amount, just the time.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the second amendment to the independent contractors agreement for the Aquifer Protection District Master Plan with Dunau and Associates and the Board of County Commissioners.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 29, cooperative agreement for University of Idaho Extension Program for FY24, and our University of Idaho, Ms. Kaiser again.
Yes, so this is also an annual agreement that we renew with the University of Idaho Extension Program. They have updated the contract. There's no change in the overall terms, it's just the format looks a little different. We're trying to be more in line with their contracts, so if it looks a little different, that's why. There's no other substantial changes. The dollar amount is the same as last year. It was also approved in the budget. Quarterly payments. Other than that, there's really no other change.
Okay, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the cooperative agreement for University of Idaho Extension Programs for FY24.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Item 30, board approval request. This is for the Pierce Clegg Building Project, and our coroner and our chief deputy coroner, Ms. Acevedo.
Thank you for having me today. This is just the bid that we have received through Claymore Customs in the amount of $10,511.15. I believe that we have agreed that we would do $10,000, and then whatever the overage was going to be covered, is my understanding.
Covered from general fund?
Covered
or-
from general fund, I believe, yes.
Okay. Well, we still don't know if you guys are you're gonna be able to cover this by the end of the year. I mean, there's 3 weeks left.
Yeah, and Brandy and I talked about this as well, is that they've come through our autopsy budget, and we have plenty, I believe, to cover for that.
Yeah, so the 511 is gonna be inconsequential. I mean, if your budget can handle it, it's the same thing as taking it from general fund if you return any money.
Oh, okay, yep.
And just to clarify, this line item that the money is coming from is in the B budget, so you would be approving moving the money from B to C budget. Is that what you're approving today?
We can do that too.
Okay.
Dave, is that gonna be an issue? Okay. So, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request for the Pierce Clegg Building Project in the coroner's office.
With funds moving from B to C budget.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, item 32, board approval request, grant process approval, and Commissioner Matari.
That would be me. This is a follow-up from last week to kind of make it official as far as the responsibilities for the grants. We also included a grant checklist for the BOCC to review in business meetings, as well as a quarterly survey from the grant sponsors to be delivered to the elected officials so they can just kind of see how the process is working. It'd be a good feedback loop. The only, there's really only one thing that has kind of been a little bit of a sticking point, and it would be on the checklist. Copied or reviewed by RMO. The preference from RMO is just reviewed and to remove copied. So with that one amendment, I would ask that the board approve this and make it policy.
Questions?
No.
So my only other thing would be the indirect costs. So can we update that language to say, for instance, juvenile detention didn't do much on their grant, RMO handled it, all of it. So would the indirect costs be able to go to RMO in that case when a department is relying solely on them for the work that's being done?
Well, I thought that the sponsor would be the one that would relinquish that. I thought that's what we had kind of talked about.
Okay, I'm just clarifying because none of the documents have been updated.
Oh, yes.
So
yes, absolutely. Indirect cost allocated to the appropriate department.
yes, that's perfect. So I will give you this.
That's on the responsibility document.
It is.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. All right, with those two changes, then I would be happy to have this move forward.
I move that the board approve the request to implement the grant process approval with the amendment of, on the checklist, to remove copied and to amend the responsibilities to state that the indirect costs are allocated to the appropriate department under the grant sponsor column.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, all right.
Thank you.
Item approved. And item 33, status pending update. And we just approved the item 1 of our expansion. So our work, sorry, I'm getting the language here. Our work package number 1 approved today. And if I'm not mistaken, ground will be breaking on the 11th. Yes, so we are going right along there, and that's kind of exciting for that. Impact fees?
I haven't heard anything further on the jail pods.
Yeah. On the impact fees, what I was thinking of doing was perhaps the next status update meeting, we could talk about making some adjustments on what we were looking at trying to collect. And then the idea is to have another meeting with the mayors towards the end of this month, beginning of October, to inform them that the board has decided to at least adjust, what we're looking, what we were initially looking to try to do.
In accordance with their concerns.
Yeah, and get buy-in from them so we can move this thing.
Sure.
And if you are not here on Tuesday, you'll be here on the 12th. I think it's the 19th that might be. You may not be here.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we can definitely deal with that on the 12th.
Yep.
Not an issue. Okay. And then jail pods, the RFQ is due back on October 3rd.
Yep, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. All right. With that, I will call for public comment. Anybody on the line? Okay. It is 2:44, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.